everyone, welcome to the Spring 2015 North American Challenger Series. I'm David Freak Turley. Alongside me is the Diana to my Leona, Aiden Zyrene Moon. How's it feel to be a heretic?
It feels pretty good right now. My Leona. Everybody quickly tweet all of your My Leona parodies to My Sharoma to Freak. And Iron Stylist, too.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're taking that.
Just give me some of your time, Leona.
I'm not even going to reference this anymore. Anyway, guys, the Spring 2015 regular season continues with 3 matches today. Up first, we have CLG Black going up against Team Fusion. Then it's TDK against Final 5, and we will round out tonight's broadcast with TSM Darkness facing off with first place enemy eSports. Now, 70% of the season is down, only 3 games left per team. Here's where we stand right now. Enemy eSports is the first team to clinch a playoff spot, and they sit in first place with 6 wins.
And after that, it's a 3-way tie for second among Final 5, TDK, and Team Fusion. CLG Black is in 5th at 2-5, and in last place with only a single victory is TSM Darkness. Now, if TSM Darkness loses today, they will be eliminated from the playoffs and have to re-qualify to return to the Summer Challenger Series.
And of course, guys, we are only moments away from CLG Black and Team Fusion's rematch today. So here's what happened last night when these 2 squads squared off. Now, of course, we are still on 5.4, by the way, this week, so bans like Lissandra should be no surprise, nor should jungle picks like Nidalee or Lee Sin.
Yeah, there's actually a couple interesting bans in this, too. We saw CLG Black actually ban Alistar and Annie targeting Trance, but they did pick up the Scion, but it didn't go to Trance, who's the Scion support. It went up to Chunky Fresh in the top lane, and it made for this very tanky front line that also had poke and engage all around, so very well-rounded comp here from Fusion.
Yeah, Trance still got an engage support all the same, in with all that. And of course, on the side of CLG Black, they have this really nice sort of disengaging composition. There's no great hard engage, but they can really kind of tool you around the map if they can get these skirmishes. We can see what happens, though, as we get ourselves into the game and whose comp actually went out properly. And it starts off with Lorlo. You know, fresh out of solo queue, joined this team only a couple weeks ago. Not great in lane swaps, gives up first blood here with the gank, and it kind of keeps going this way for a while.
Yeah, they had Niantanso in the top lane to start, and as soon as CLG Black said, throw Stixxay to the top lane, they immediately pulled Niantanso back and had him go bottom.
And so Fusion started the game off with a nice couple of kills. It's 4 turrets to 1 right now. Another 4,000 gold lead, which makes team fights pretty easy at this point.
Yeah, they use a lot on Nintendude, but here's the thing. Chunky Fresh gets the backline immediately with his ultimate and hits 3 people with his Q to set up the follow-up from his team.
Stixxay actually managed to crit and kill Niantanso, but otherwise really only got 2 auto attacks down the entire fight. And when your AD carry does 0 damage for most of the battle, you tend to win team fights.
And once again, they go very deep to get to this middle lane. Nintendude has just been causing so much havoc on this map, and that causes a lot of the team to overextend. Stixxay out of position at this point. He gets hit again. Chunky Fresh with the Qs hitting the back line and saving his ultimate for the follow-up here.
So just quick cleanup for these guys. Team Fusion, they're looking really good 20 minutes into this one. Couple of cleanup kills, no big deal. 7,000 gold at the end of that fight. So, go for the next push. 14-4 in kills, 25-minute game overall. In fact, ends up being the fastest we've had in the Challenger Series. Just some cleanup kills, and you got a 25-minute win.
That's extremely impressive, and you can see Nintendude here. He's 3-0 and ends up being 3-1-13. Spoiler alert, Nintendude dies at the end.
So, didn't affect his KDA for this game, but his season KDA took a death. Unfortunate there, but you can see just all Fusion all the time. They improved to 4-3 after that game. Great performances from multiple players here. You're seeing Nintendude out-farm his top laner from the jungle. We rarely see Nintendude actually get farm. He was known in the LCS as like high death, low farm to get lanes ahead. Finally seeing him play selfish champions.
It's actually Niantanso.
No, Nintendude out-farmed Chunky Fresh. I'm talking about him getting more gold than his top laner.
More gold, yeah. That was like CS?
No.
Not at all. Sometimes that does happen, though. You steal a lot of lane minions. Anyway, Niantanso. The thing with this team, though, is whenever we talk about Niantanso, it's never about his laning phase. It's always about his team fight prowess and being the shot caller of the team, calling those objectives in those rotations. So they just kept him away from the 2-on-2, and they made it so he had free CS for the first 10, 12 minutes of the game, and then they started grouping up for team fights and made it a very quick game for them off of his decisive calls.
Yeah, the game overall just sort of played into Fusion's advantages, and honestly, it's been their strongest victory so far all split. And the thing is, the CLB AD carry Stixxay had a feeling this was coming. Before the game, he tweeted this. He says he hacked into Team Fusion's database and he found out their strats. Good luck tonight, nerds.
Literally anything to be picked
Stixxay
against him. And they threw the top laner at him, and I guess it worked.
Yeah, exactly. So, unfortunate their lane swap happened to work out quite nicely, but congrats to Stixxay for some very forward-thinking tweets. But so Fusion, okay, they've actually lost every single Tuesday game up until now. The funny thing is they've actually had the hardest schedule of any team in the Challenger Series. Now they're facing 5th place CLG Black. Next week they face TSM Darkness. Like, the fact that they're 4-3 is actually testament to how good they are. They've played the other teams in the top 4.
Yeah, and they're the only team that's taken a win off of enemy. So they're the team that can actually get that little extra bump because they've gone 1-1 with everybody. But nobody's gone 1-1 with enemy yet.
Yeah, so we'll see how Fusion can do with the rest of their playoff picture. I believe if they win this game here, they're guaranteed a playoff spot. 2-0 CLG Black will make them out of reach. They cannot fall down to 5th here. CLB as well, if they can win this game, they are in control of their playoff destiny. They face another playoff hopeful TDK next week. They win this game, they can 2-0 TDK. CLB are guaranteed a playoff spot. They're at least 4th for them. So both these teams really have control over whether they make playoffs or not, or whether they fall and have to requalify for Challenger by winning here. CLB, though, to improve, though, to win these games, they have to go back to how they were playing 3 weeks ago when they first picked up Lorlo. Find a way to play Riven and competitive. Get him back on Rumble. Get him on something that's more solo QE because he's not adapting well right now to this tank top lane meta. Yeah,
and that comes with like playing with the team a whole lot and actually getting these strategies down where they utilize him because he's an all-in kind of guy.
Yeah,
and he's getting put in situations where he's not one-on-oneing. He's sitting around on a tank, and it's probably a lot because of the lane swap. But if he plays the Riven and it's lane swapped on, it's not as effective. So it's kind of like skirting around that, but he really does need to play something that can carry more often. He seems way more comfortable on those champions, and that's his home, but he's kind of taken out of it right now. So you can see he's very uncomfortable in these situations.
Yeah, so I guess CLB either find the one-on-ones or find a lane swap sort of game plan where you don't sit in the lanes 1v2 and get your top laner to sit there like trying to soak up XP but not getting gold. Find a more aggressive play. Maybe go for a turret push on like a 4v0 or something like that. Things that'll get CLB out of that lane swap game sooner and into the actual fights that they can kind of get there. We'll have to see if that does happen here. Team Fusion looking to finally get a 2-0 week for themselves. I think they are set up to do it, especially with a win that convincing. You'd be surprised if they lost game 2.
Yeah, the fact that they won that game just very decisively, 25 minutes, fastest game of the season, I think it's going to be a little bit more of the same here from Fusion. They seem to be like on an upswing at first. They weren't living up to the hype that they had around them where it was like we're going 1-1 with every team. But like you said, their schedule's kind of been like we start with the hardest teams and we work our way down. So they have TSM Darkness next week. Right now they have CLG Black, so 5th and 6th place teams right now.
Yeah, so we'll see if that ends up happening here. I do want to keep my eyes very heavily on the lane swap game and on what Lorlo gets to play here in this game. I think those are the two big factors to see if CLG Black has a chance in this one. Zed away from Huhi, Lissandra away from Easy and Co. Lorlo as well, of course, being a playmaking top laner would be good to get that away. Trant still pulling those same Annie bans, though, even though his Leona seemed to be just as effective.
Yeah, they really want to keep him off of those engaged champions, but like you said, there's too many engaged supports. So he'll just fall back on Leona, and he had a great Leona game.
Now we'll see. Rek'Sai now dropped away. Nintendo not allowed that champion either. Nidalee, of course, still up. Nintendo had a great performance on that champion last time, but CLG Black could always first pick that for FLICKR if they're thinking about pinching junglers. Once again, guys, for those of you just joining us, we are on 5.4 here in Challenger. We will be on 5.5 for the LCS, but because the game started Tuesday, patches have to mature for a certain amount of time before they're allowed to be played in the tournament game. So 5.4, you're not going to see any Sejuani bans.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Oh, well.
I mean, it means she gets played more if people want it, right?
That's true.
Cool with that.
So another support ban, Janna going out, so less disengaged for CLG Black, and there is, in fact, the hover on Nidalee. Not actually very surprised in this one.
FLICKR on that Nidalee, he can do some work, scout the map. FLICKR is kind of the reactionary jungler as well. He's not forcing a whole lot of things except for like early first and second bloods. He does pick up a lot of early kills though.
Yeah.
But it's off of pushed lanes and going to them, not forcing too many things. And I want to see that Nidalee, if he's got the accuracy with the spears and if he can help his lanes out.
We'll see if that happens here. Nintendo starting off with a shout out to a Zingy with the Karthus hover. We'll see what they actually go for on this one, though. Plenty of time for Fusion to make their choices. And now I've got to get back to thinking about what 5.4 champions are, what's important about these guys. And
Sejuani's still a champion.
Yeah, Sejuani's very good, and Nintendo's going to go for that one with only a couple of jungle bans away. And Chunky Fresh going to be maybe back on that Scion that he did so well with last time. Fusion going in.
Yeah, it could be Chunky Fresh on that Scion. It could be Trance because he does play the support Scion. We saw it from him week 1 when he played that. And
yeah, it wasn't very good.
It wasn't very good, right? Like, I mean,
but hey, he can try again.
Chunky Fresh is the best Scion player on that team, so
provably. Okay.
Sorry, Trans. But Nintendo picking up the Sejuani, I think Sejuani is still a very powerful pick on 5.4, something that's kind of overlooked. And as long as you get to that mid game, that late game, and get over her early game, which is the only problem that she has, is that very early game. She doesn't suffer from clear times. She doesn't suffer from early gank pressure. It's just her dueling. If you pick on her in the jungle, and Nidalee is the perfect champion to do that.
And Nidalee has to really, I think, very carefully balance invading versus farming, because you pretty much can't get behind an item with her. So you misstep 2-3 times in a row, it takes you a lot to catch back up.
It's a gamble.
Yeah, needing to hit that Rod of Ages timing. So we'll see how much time ThinkCard does spend aggressively in the enemy jungle. Alistar does come through. They seem so set on pushing Trance down, right? Ban the Annie, ban the Alistar last game, pick Alistar this game. I don't know if they're going to keep him down, though.
So they took the Alistar away, even though the Scion is picked, and that's possibly for Trance. But this denies just another support pick if it isn't the support Scion. So, but Leona's still up, right? He still has an aggressive option, and this looks like a team that wants to wombo, that wants to get something that's going to help them engage, so you have more options to start the fight, and it isn't just on Nintendo or Chunky Fresh landing an ultimate.
And you can see how little Fusion seemed to care about getting the Alistar for themselves, being the fact that they picked the Sejuani, a clearly uncontested champion at this point, didn't seem to care. I do want to point out that Alistar did still come through for Lorlo, so they're still keeping him on defensive tanks even. It's not even like the Scion where you can go in and make things happen. Maokai is a fairly reactionary top laner, all said and done, and actually a bad matchup against Scion in the first place, so brings me some pain there. Leona Sivir comes in. Fusion very much about starting their fights off.
Yeah, Maokai Scion, bad matchup for him, but you have to survive it and then get to that point where Scion is becoming a beast, and Maokai, he's more peely, right? Like you said, he's not so much aggressive. He's more of, oh, I'm going to lock somebody up.
He's a defensive tank.
Doing it. So then you look at Sivir and Leona, more forward motion, like you were saying. This is just full engage from Team Fusion. But what they need to do is hit the mid game. So ThinkCard has a lot of options, and with the roaming of ICANN-EU on an Alistar, they can start upsetting the laning phase with these champions.
All right, so last few champions coming in, though. Can the laning phase really be upset here? And of course, keep in mind, Maokai, pretty good jungler overall, so if the lane swap does happen, he can stay in the jungle, get some more farm. If the lane swap happens, the one-on-one, we'll see if that happens here for CLG Black. They can get those kinds of advantages as well. Last few picks, Karthus does come in here, so Xiao paved the way, and everyone said, you know what, you're right, good champion.
I like it.
Easy gets that. Tristana for Stixxay. All right, so this is actually a very good defensive team. A lot of circles to put down if you come in on them. Maokai, Alistar, Karthus start kind of decaying your team. Yeah,
yesterday we saw Fusion playing hard engage, and then CLG Black playing this team that's like, if you engage on us, we'll punish you a little bit. This is an even more punishing team, though.
It's true.
The fact that Tristana can have somebody just knocked away from the fight, gets very long range later on, and can kite backwards, lots of peeling. Maokai, then you also have Tristana and Alistar.
Yeah.
Keep people away from the Nidalee, and if ThinkCard can get off the ground and actually become a carry for his team, it's going to be very bad for Fusion.
Well, we're going to see how this ends up playing out as LeBlanc came in, which can, of course, easily punish Karthus. I don't think there's much of a chance of Easy getting a really good edge in onto Huhi. Right, highly mobile, dodge all the Skittles, and then life gets painful. Also, if I recall correctly, you can spell shield the back half of a Tristana E of her her explosive charge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, which means it is not hard for Nian and Trance to win this bot lane match, just because there's no way Tristana deals any damage in it.
Don't know if
the key target. At least.
And like you said, Fusion, they might want the 2-on-2 because Scion is good against Maokai, Tristana is okay against
Sivir survives Trist.
Right, like Tristana. Yeah, Sivir survives Trist, and that's the thing too. But I mean, Nian Tanso, he really likes to get out of the laning phase with basically unharassed, so that he can do clear calls. If he gets behind in the laning phase, those are the times that I've seen them really struggle with closing a game out or even getting a lead at that point.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if the laning phase shapes up then well for Team Fusion, or if they manage to lane swap on CLG Black and make it just as painful as last time. But here we go, on to the Rift. Game 1 of the night. A secured playoff spot for Fusion if they win. CLG Black, if they lose here, need a bit of a miracle to stay in that running here. A wood would give them complete control over the playoff destiny. And we're going to see what happens as they start meeting across in the middle of the map. First dodge, Huhi. Good aggressive trinket. And I like how he puts it off to the right. This actually keeps it out of vision range of the turret to guarantee that he gets vision.
And it still fulfills its objective of just getting some vision of the mid lane. We see here, though, The invade, they're going to have to counter on the opposite side. So right now, just a barreling down of this side. So both teams want to see the lane swap coming and want to have some say in it.
All right, so the wards come down. ThinkCard can watch the lane assignment down there. Same thing for Chunky Fresh. It's very easy to do the counter engage, get your vision up. No big deal for these guys.
And we'll see in a couple seconds here, depending on how the team's posture, where each laner is actually going to go. And it does look like
Lorla's set up for either one.
Yeah, they're still set up for either, but Fusion are going to start in the enemy jungle here on.
Okay, this is cute. So they have the ward coverage to know this buff steal is safe. Their dual lane is staying mid lane.
Ooh, wait. Huh. Okay, they wait. So Fusion.
This is really greedy, but it's going to pay off.
Fusion. They were waiting around, and then they show up a little bit later.
You know what's crazy?
Going into the 2-on-2.
They actually, yeah, they didn't know we've actually really dodging that secondary ward that came down, so they know the 2-on-2 is happening here. But Chunky Fresh is going to get a blue buff, and Tendu's going to get the Gromp really easily. And Fusion start off with a very greedy, very aggressive, but very successful buff. And watch this, Tendu is going to get the easiest blue buff of his life. Nope, Chunky Fresh is going to take it for himself.
That's the beauty of Sion there. Now he has a blue buff in that one-on-one lane against a Maokai for when he comes back. So this is really big because now he has his E, he has permanent harass, he's going to chug through all these potions of his enemy. Granted, Lorlo will have more potions from the Raptor start.
This still just feels pretty happy. Chunky Fresh with a flask really isn't going to be pushed around like ever. He gets to spam E. And I think his mana just regenerates even if he presses E on cooldown. Yeah. Then Tendu in an easy spot. I just really like Fusion's start here. And again, I don't think the Eastern blue buff will ever have a chance to be stolen by ThinkCard because I want to say Fusion's dual lane could keep pressure.
They can keep the pressure up, but right now, at this low level, it's all about who gets those creeps first. Like right now, Stixxay hit level 2 before Niantanso, so Niantanso has to back up and respect that Headbutt Pulverize is an option, that Stixxay can jump in, all these different things. So right now, they're kind of pushed away from this farm on that Sivir.
Ooh, nice double knockup right there. Niantanso taking a good bit of damage. Niantanso will pop Spell Shield. Yep, blocks the damage nice and easy, so that is how it works after all. Stixxay getting hit really hard, though the Ignite was popped on him as well. And the thing is, ThinkCard just now realizes that his buff got taken away. He just revealed it.
Yep.
The entire time, CLB was operating under the expectation that Nintendo started top side of the jungle.
Well, here's the thing, is they saw Sion had a blue buff.
Yeah.
You're assuming that Sejuani gave the blue buff away is kind of strange.
No, you're right. I forgot about the fact that they could see the blue buff and they could actually expect that it got stolen. I'm actually backwards in that one. So,
but it's one of those things where you would think about it and you'd be like, oh, maybe Sion did start there. But
yeah, there's a good chance without vision, you're like, oh, darn, they got their jungle invade. Well played.
But here's the thing, right?
You don't know.
You don't know, and also since the bottom lane showed up a little late.
No, because there were some wards over by like Gromp that saw that jungle was not started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I just remembered all the wards I saw.
That's actually true. But like, there's always the possibility that they had walked around.
There's always a chance.
With the Sion, like, they wasn't able to see what was going on at the blue buff. They just saw the bottom lane walk up a little late, possibly throw some pop shots after they were past the vision. But yes, overall, it is one of those things. But here he knows that there's a scuttler up.
Yep.
And he's just going to do that.
Okay, so ThinkCard managed to get both scuttlers. So even though his CS looks very low, those are 65 or 80 gold scuttlers. Respectively, it takes them down. So a lot of money in for ThinkCard so far. Pretty safe jungle clears. Got to clear his own wolves and whatnot. So still some money coming in to this Nidalee.
Yeah, you really do want that early blue buff, though, on the Nidalee. And it gets you those early ganks and makes it so that you don't have to take that first back so early.
And we'll see what happens with the Rangers Trailblazer there. ThinkCard also with the Raptor buff.
But that's even better.
Vision.
It's even better for Fusion, because then they avoid those early Nidalee ganks. That would be the big problem for Fusion, because they just want to get to mid-game. Mid-game LeBlanc, Engage Team, Sejuani, like all these champions thrive past the early game. But that's true, too, for CLG Black, right? You have the Nidalee who scales extremely well. You have the Karthus, who's not going to have early pressure, and who really just turns online level 13, level 16. And does an immense amount of damage that is so hard to avoid.
The one thing that will help them at least a little bit, though, is the fact that as soon as he gets 6, at least he has cross-map pressure. So if CLG Black do find a good lane, and by the way, the laning phase going much better than the last one,
yes,
you know, have a chance of making some good plays here. Lurlo actually getting a nice trade on Chunky Fresh. Again, Karthus not far from 6, and ThinkCard's here as well. Doesn't land the hunt just yet. Good. Okay, forces the flash.
And that's enough for them in this top lane. Look, because Lurlo, he keeps that pressure on. He's burned through all of his potions. The blue buff is gone from Chunky Fresh. Chunky Fresh has no flash. There's a lot of pressure that can be applied to this top lane. And repeat visits could be possible from ThinkCard. There's only a pink ward down there. He'd have to go clear that and then come through. But right now, the Scion wants to apply pressure, right? Because it's a winning matchup for him.
Oh, wow. Stop the recall, too. That was a really good read by Chunky Fresh. So the blue buff only really results in like a 6-7 CS lead. Not as bad as I would have thought for how rough I thought that match was going to be. But he's going to stay safe. Huhi not very far ahead of Easy just yet. And again, Karthus being level 6 means he can help another gank if it happens. Chunky Fresh, though, with ult means even without flash, you can get away from ganks pretty easily.
This is where the CS advantage comes into play for the top lane. So, we'll talk about that in a second, though.
Nice little knock up on a trance, but it's Leona with rank 3W, not going to take really any meaningful damage. And it's interesting. Leona doesn't take any damage, but of course Kenny can heal everyone back up. So it's really hard for something like good to happen in this lane for either team, really.
Yeah, it's hard to get a foothold, but you do see Stixxay is a little bit up in CS. And going back to the top lane CS point, there's a 13 CS difference between these top laners, and Chunky Fresh got the better back. Lurlo didn't want to TP, so he decided to walk all the way back to lane and then allowed this advantage to manifest.
Yeah, so interesting. TP up for both these guys. Good recall for Chunky Fresh, and a lot of gold coming in towards him. Cowl will keep him safe, but as will Catalyst on the other side. Huhi out of mana in the mid lane means he's got really nothing else he can do. The wave clear is now pretty garbage for him. He's got enough money easily for a, the first pass from Melanimicon. Ulti gonna land the slow. Easy gonna die to the ignite. Nicely done by Fusion. They finally get that kill.
Huhi barely had any mana there, and ThinkCard trying to get in range, trying to get the heal off, trying to make it so that Easy can survive. Easy still has his exhaust, but it's just those long range damage just to finish him off because he was getting poked down slowly but surely.
And a pink ward kill, but no buff attempt here by Nintendo. Gonna allow ThinkCard to grab his own red buff. So the farm game's still happening, but we're seeing the first gank we each jungler having very different results.
One resulting in a flash that hasn't been capitalized on, and the other one
first blood. For the mid laner, no less. Yes. So LeBlanc, now she can afford Melanimicon. Now it gets really hard for the Catalyst-less Easy.
Yeah, Tear and parts of a Catalyst.
Crystals.
Nothing that he's going to be able to apply pressure with, but that's natural for our Karthus. Karthus pretty much has to get fed to be in a position where he's applying power, applying pressure before the 18-minute mark, 20-minute mark. The big thing in this top lane, though, that I do want to touch on is although Lurlo had a bad back and he decided to walk it, that's actually the better choice, because if he had TP'd, Chunky Fresh just uses his ultimate to get back to lane faster and saves his own TP for a cross-map play. And by the time he wants to TP, his ultimate might be back up as well.
That's true, which means very scary things can happen. Now, I want to pay attention to this bot lane real quick, because I found a really strange recall by Stixxay. So he was 100 gold short of recalling for BF Pickaxe, and recalls here for like Boots and a Longsword, which means Nian Tanso gets an easy recall, the same item lead, even though there was a 10 CS difference, meaning that Stixxay could have gotten a better recall and then forced Nian to stay if he wanted to match that. Now Nian gets to match that anyway.
Nope.
And it's not even painful. Doran's Blade is just pretty much as good. Like, Nian's actually now going to be faster to Infinity Edge, practically. I don't know. You wait one more wave and Stixxay gets a pickaxe, and I think that's super worth it.
I don't know. I feel like the extra Doran's Blade, like,
I don't love it either.
Is about worth the same, but it's not a pickaxe. It's not going to get him closer to that IE. Unless he's sitting on more gold that he hasn't spent.
Yeah, it's more the fact that he's like hitting Boots and a Longsword that's more expensive than a Doran's, and if you're going to go for that combined, it just feels out of the way, I guess.
Got the Doran's.
Yeah.
Got the Doran's, man.
All right, well, we'll see what happens overall. Nian Tanso back to level 6 with Trance here, so ulti's up for the bottom lanes. I don't know if we're going to see them brawl still, though. The big tanks plus the spell shield. I feel like it's going to be so hard to engage without a jungler. They're going to try anyway. Nice jump by Stixxay.
Kenny basically just doing nothing there, just standing around. Oof. Defending Stixxay, who already got out.
Yeah.
Eats a lot of free damage there. He'll heal it up over time. You don't want to take a bad back, especially in this lane. He has no more potions available, so Kenny is really just going off of his mana regen and his Triumphant Roar to keep himself in this lane. So Stixxay, he's in a decent position right now with his items. He has the boots. Maybe he wants to dodge more Zenith Blades. We'll see, but I feel like that is a good choice for him. It's not the pickaxe, but I still think it's good, especially in this matchup. But look at this ThinkCard.
Engage onto ThinkCard. Nice ulti on top of that one. Nian exhausted, but still wants to join this fight. Chunky Fresh intended to show up. There's the kill picked up. Sion shows a bit late and a late TP from Lorlo, but why even join this fight? Oh, because Karthus is here. That's why. Trance goes down. The re-engage, the jump in for Stixxay. Forces Nian to flash away. Looks like that will be a survival, but Huhi's going to show up well before everyone else. And can they pick up more than just the first 2 kills? Jumping over the wall. Lorlo in a pretty bad spot. Nice spell shield! Gets him after all! Lorlo gets the kill, but 3-2 still better for Fusion.
Yeah. Fusion just gets to push the mid lane. You said Karthus is here with the ultimate, but Huhi, LeBlanc was there in person.
Yeah.
So
2 kills in that fight.
Made the difference of the 1 kill. Now they're going to turn towards the Dragon on Fusion's side. So Fusion just spike up to a 1.2k gold lead without having to take any turrets just yet.
All right, there we go. Dragon picked up because it's roughly all they felt like they could get out of that one. Chunky Fresh and Nintendude with... Okay, Nintendude's going to grab this one. Chunky Fresh to recall should match. Oh, nice. ThinkCard going to delay it, and it's going to give Lorlo a bit more time for farming that top lane.
A big part of that fight was the fact that the order of the TPs coming in, and when they get popped. You see here, ThinkCard comes in, and then the TP from Chunky Fresh immediately starts. The TP now starts from Maokai. Chunky Fresh is in, he's in position, he's able to be effective in this fight. Charges the Q. If he had been the later person, it would have been a different fight, because they would have had Maokai there for the pickup at the start. Huhi joining was another big part. Whoever is in attendance and what time they get there. Right now, easy, it's just like, get the free CS, get mid. And it's not worth it at this point. But chasing a LeBlanc is always difficult because they can just turn around on you and say, I'm not actually roaming, I'm coming to kill you.
Well, good things overall, and a needlessly large rod comes in for Huhi as payment for his nice, friendly help towards his team. A lot of gold coming in. Nintendo now wants to play the Vision game. Already has the Juggernaut enchantment. Again, 5.4 Juggernaut, not Cinderhulk. Double Ruby Crystal, and again, the engage on in. Trying to find a bit more damage. Kenny down to half as well. Ulti's going to land. Forced to Unbreakable will out. Trance now will take some meaningful damage back. Zerk Razors and Pickaxe making it fairly equal in items.
Lorlo's a little bit ahead in this lane, but Chunky Fresh has completed his Spirit Visage. So he's in a really good spot to deal with this Maokai. And Nintendude is at 100% kill participation at this moment because of his ultimates. He's using them on one person just to get the pick. He's using Sejuani kind of as a pick champion in this early game.
Yeah, but it's working, though. The ultis are landing great accuracy so far by Nintendude. I think he's hit 100% of ultimates so far, at least for the damage. I know he only slowed easy the first time, but I guess you can say worth it. It still became a kill.
Well, you can see everybody's heading towards this bottom lane. Nintendude, he wants to go over this wall.
He's going to walk right in the ThinkCard. And you talked about dueling power earlier. Nintendude happy to take this fight for now. Forces ThinkCard out. Oh, that's what an item lead will do for you.
Yeah, the 2 Ruby Crystals. Most likely Warmogs. There's a lot of other items, too, that it can build into. But look at this over the wall!
Oh, my God. Down he goes right off the bat. I just feel bad at this point.
Another use of the Sejuani ultimate, just for that little extra damage. Just trying to get that pick. Huhi's still sticking around, though. He doesn't care about this Karthus mid lane. Karthus isn't going to shove turrets down. He'll shove waves down, and then he'll get some damage on the turret via the wave. But they're going to get this bottom turret, and they might get some kills off it, too. There are 4 people here, and they catch Stixxay.
Hardcore dive. Stixxay goes down right off the bat. The counter engage from Karthus gets a good bit of damage down, but not quite enough. Double kill for Niantonso. No kills traded back.
A good turret aggro juggling there and staying right out of the range by the members of Fusion. Up top, though, Chunky Fresh, he's really putting it to Lorlo right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to push him in pretty hard there. Sion, just, again, a much easier matchup there. Catalyst not providing enough regen, while the Spirit Visage certainly is. The early Flask helping a lot as well. Lorlo goes for the early Aegis. He's all about the teamfight power. Judging by the fact that he stopped on Catalyst, means he's actually going for Righteous Glory as well, not Rod of Ages. He's trying to be a full teamfight tank. And, trying to make that transition out of a solo queue player into a full sort of competitive basically Dyrus-esque top laner. I think that's what Lorla's going for here, and I mean, 1-1-1, best score on his team.
Yeah, when you do go for the Righteous Glory over the Rod of Ages, though, with this team, it's really just for you and the Alistar. The Nidalee, not so big on running it. It will help the Karthus a tiny bit, but I mean, movement speed is just great overall for people. But like moving into this team, that's going to be moving into you.
That's
with
true.
the Sivir ultimate, with the Leona, like all these champions on Fusion's side want to come into you. The Righteous Glory is like, oh, I'll help you close that gap by running into you.
Let's clash, buddy.
Like the only big part, like the big part of that Righteous Glory form is going to be the slow field for more appeal. But the Rod of Ages is just going to be more magic damage on top of the Nidalee, on top of the Karthus. They are already magic damage stacked at this point.
It's fair.
So right now, both of those items aren't as appealing, and he wants the Aegis so that he doesn't have to get that Rod of Ages early. Because if you get a Rod of Ages, you have to build it early. You have to complete it early, or else it's just not worth it.
Well, speaking of Rod of Ages coming in early, right now ThinkCard is sitting on only a Ruby Crystal. He's nowhere near that item himself. At least Easy's getting a stack set, but there is a lot of time to go for CLG Black. They're already down 4,000 gold from 2 turret kills, thanks to top lane Adder and bottom lane Adder going down. 7 champion kills, thanks to all the team fights in the bot lane. And looks like 2-on-2, maybe not exactly what CLB wanted here, as bot lane's starting to kind of really crumble.
They're not falling apart as quickly, though, as last time, because CLG Black, they ended up in a 25-minute game. We're 17 minutes in. They played the laning phase a little better. It wasn't a lane swap, but so far, the game isn't completely over. They still have this Karthus. They still have ways to start coming back into it.
And they get a little something. Huigo gets a buff steal, or not buff steal, but Raptor steal all the same, and still some deep wards. Fusion turning the screws, and they're focusing on bottom lane.
Yeah. CLG Black have a lot of ways to come back in this game. Like they do have like the Tristana can keep shoving, but the focus of Fusion onto the bottom lane, the mid lane, is because they want to group up. They want to have these mid-game fights with this mid-game team fighty comp. They have so many ways to force the issue that it's a little ridiculous. And now CLG Black, they just have Tristana shoving turrets.
Well, she shoves herself away from Sion in time as well, so I guess she'll survive. And the ulti comes in, they catch ThinkCard. A couple ultis burned now, Easy the target of attention. That's going to be a quick kill picked up, and Niantanso inside the enemy base, just going for a second one. 2 for 0, mid Adder goes down. Don't even bother casting Requiem. Goodbye Fusion again.
Yep. So many ways to force the issue to get into these fights, and they're going to get a dragon off of this too. Fusion have hit those mid-game spikes of this comp, and they're playing it extraordinarily well. In the end, he made it through the laning phase in phenomenal fashion, 4-1-3 at this moment, and he's able to start shoving and taking these team fights over. Nintendude still at 100% kill participation on that Sejuani. Didn't have to worry too much about the early game dueling, and instead got a lead over his jungle route, over ThinkCard, put him a little bit behind. Honestly, shut down ThinkCard's really early Nidalee plays, which was what would have been the bane of this Sejuani.
Sticks are looking a bit frisky, gets a bit of damage on his face though. Wanted to keep the red buff from being stolen, not going to happen though. Fusion now up more than 6,000 gold. 2 dragons to their name, Baron's up in a minute if they want it. All 3 outer turrets now gone, just it keeps getting worse and worse.
And remember, if Fusion win this game, they guarantee playoffs.
Yep.
Right. In Challenger, there are 6 teams. Top 4 teams make it to playoffs after the regular season.
Yep.
So right now, NME are the only ones who have a spot in playoffs. Fusion, they're looking ready to join.
They're looking ready to as well. And well, right now, CLG Black, their chances of joining those teams in playoffs getting a bit slimmer. They still have a chance even if they lose this game, but it relies on TDK losing, and then CLG Black 2-0ing them in the week following. Somewhat unlikely scenarios, but we'll still have to see what happens here. Focusing on the game at hand, though, we see Chunky Fresh is still playing aggressively. Gets ThinkCard and just crushes him. Oh, didn't press Q. No, Chunky Fresh doesn't get the kill after all. It was on cooldown. He just tapped it for just a quick bit of burst. The heal kept ThinkCard alive.
Oh, man. It's one of those things where you got to charge it. You got to charge it. But the Nidalee is afraid of the jump out, afraid of him getting away. Oh, man, he just cut that corner. He bent it like Beckham. Great.
Well, Easy's going to be okay in this one for now, but it's just getting worse and worse. Fusion trying to push in their ward lines. No dragon to contest for a little while here, but you can see the southern jungle becoming more and more red as the green wards come in for Fusion. Quick trinket to make sure there's no baits coming on. They're like, nope, this turret's safe after all. Only Alistair right now in range. His turret's going to get down to about half. Maybe more if these teams aren't going to defend it. They're going to stay for this one. Niantanso feels no fear at all. Bottom turret does go down. That's number 4 in this game. 7,000 gold lead. Bot lane cleared. Phantom Mythos good for Niantanso.
Nian's been having a great game for himself. Nintendude and Huhi, the 3 middle people on the screen. The outer 2, the support, and the top laner, pretty much been doing their own thing. Chunky almost has ultimate again. There we go. As soon as it's up.
Ooh, wow. Forcing a flash. These ultis, they're missing sometimes, but they're largely doing really good things. And by the way, Huhi's coming. Stixxay's in a bad spot. Ulti jump, lands the Q, lands the knock-up easily, and jumps right back in. Another kill picked up. Stun on a think card. There's the slow. There's the kill picked up. Fusion find 2 more.
And break Nintendude having 100% kill participation, but they barrel down. They get 2 kills. They start cleaning this up. This might be a Baron.
Could if they wanted. 21.5 minutes in, looking like Fusion are going to finally get their first 2-0 week. CLG Black still so much room before they scale up. Rod of Ages, by the way, still not even completed for Think Card here. Can you really try to contest? CLB waiting around a little bit.
They can get their tanks in there, but it's really hard to engage on a Sejuani.
And Trance is going to go right on in. 3-man stun from Nintendude. The fight has begun. Easy just wants to get the AoE damage. 4-man knockup from Alistair. They pick off Sivir, and this team's forced to run away now for this one. Fusion 1 for 1. Trance on the wrong side of the map, and Think Card is coming. Lorlo cannot land the W, has to flash for it, knocks back Trance. That'll be a kill. And they're going to get that one to Think Card. So finally, a bit of good things happening here for CLB. A 2 for 1 on the Baron attempt of Fusion.
Yep, exactly. They didn't even get the Baron either on Fusion's side. So right now, that's better for them, but Fusion still have pressure, still have options, still have ward coverage of the key areas that haven't been cleared just yet. They still have all their pink wards out. And Stixxay, he's just trying to get some gold. Leave him alone, Huhi.
Why would you, though? Tristana falling a little bit behind the farm curve. Actually, the single lowest farmed carry lane is the AD carry of CL back.
And that's why Stixxay's feeling this pressure, trying to get back into it. Great ultimate from Nintendude. And Easy, before he dies, though, positions himself exactly where he should be. And then they get to Nian, they lock him up, they lock up that Fed carry, and then they catch Trance off on the side. Great positioning by Easy to just break it all up.
Wow.
Whoa, he's still not safe.
Think Card forced to flash away just by hearing Sivir charge and seeing there's a Poro running at me. Time to get away. That is the most fearsome Poro, by the way, I think I've seen in League of Legends in quite some time.
We were talking about Sejuani skins last week with Dark Rider. I'll have to admit, Poro Rider is actually my favorite, but I didn't buy it.
Good job. Good job, Zyrene.
I know. That's just the tongue.
It's so great. It's got a Poro snack for the mace as well. Just
he's got little legs too.
I want it to have like little sound effects, like dum, 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 as it runs across.
Looks like a hamster.
It's not a seagull.
No, seagulls are like. Oh!
What was the sound you're making before? No. Yeah. What is that? Yeah.
No, is
that a pigeon?
It's not like a bird. It's like.
It's a dove.
It's a dove?
It's a dove. Yeah, I think it is a dove. You're right.
That's
the way, though.
That's like...
Close enough, dude.
That was more like a throaty purr.
Oh, shut up.
Like Poros make that sound.
You have no idea what sound Poros make. Prove to me you know what sound they make.
When you threw them in snow.
I can hear you, though. About to be in a bad spot. Gotta interrupt you because there's death going on in this game. The Poro Rider Sejuani starts the fight. Oh, man! That was a good ultimate. The Solar Flare just destroying CLG Black. Chunky Fresh with the follow-up. 2-man knockup lands the Q into Lorlo as well. 3 quick kills picked up for Fusion. This time, I think Baron's going to be secured.
Yeah, the sound that Poros make right now is get wrecked, because that was a great ultimate from both Trance and Nintendude, following up on each other. And then Chunky Fresh on the backside of it, hitting 2 members. And now Stixxay is like, all right, I gotta get something. But he can't, because Huhi is in this area, just sticking around, trying to see if he can actually get something. But this Baron to Fusion, off of that great team fight play, and they're really playing their comp the way that it's meant to be played.
Yeah, exactly. You got to mash everyone together, much like the term Fusion would imply. And so far, that's been Fusion that's only worked well for the red team. CLG Black still trying to find something to do that's proper there. Locket did get finished on Lorlo, didn't seem to do enough though. I actually do have to say I don't like Easy going for Merc Treads and what's probably an Abyssal Scepter next. like surviving the onslaught of Huhi is a noble goal, but I think you're better off actually having your damage profile matter in this game, whether you get one shot or not, and relying on positioning for it.
And like, here's the thing too, is with Merc Treads, you really don't care too much about
the CC coming in.
Yeah, the CC when you're Karthus?
Yeah.
But anyway, Flash is in, boom, boom, at the same time. Both ultimates coming through. So it was actually a layered. So it's one of those things where both were great ultimates.
Whose fault was it?
I'm pretty sure the Sejuani one landed first.
Was it cast first? Probably.
Probably. It's got that fly time.
Officially, Trance sucks. Easy though in a really bad spot. Gets rooted up. Solar Flare on top. Yeah, you're going to die for that one. Huhi gets the kill. Merc Treads don't seem to matter for that one.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is it doesn't really matter too much with those Merc Treads, especially when you're on Karthus, because you're still dealing damage while you're stunned.
That's true. Stixxay, yeah, a little bit low on health here.
He's a fast guy.
I don't know what he's trying to outplay here, but it's not going to work. He tries to get the minion wave, not going to get much. Chunky Fresh with a solo kill in the top lane. Knocks down the AD carry. Mid lane tier 2 gone as well. Fusion with Baron. We're going to take so much more. Who's going to even stop the inhibitor takedown? I think no one.
27 minutes in this game. Huhi.
Ooh, man. Yeah.
Just looking to push more lanes. They're just going to rotate up to the top. Fusion are now in a mode where they are just playing cleanup. They have a 12k gold lead, 27 minutes into the game. Every dragon, every Baron. Just absolute dominance over the map that was established very early on by Nintendo taking out people around the mid lane, near the bottom lane, and setting up the lanes that affect the later parts of the game. Chunky Fresh just doing his own thing, and it's been working out too.
Just the poke over and over again. Chunky Fresh, yeah, doing great things. 3-1-3, getting the split push down. 229 minions on him, actually.
Shows up at the right time, too.
He does. I gotta say, it's one of the good hallmarks of a tank top laner, because you know you don't want to stay in the lane forever. You don't have that much bully threat. You're there for the team fight power, but they find he's going to ult in onto Kenny Yu. Who's the bigger tank?
Why is the support clearing the side wave?
I don't even know, dude. But it's not really a good sign. Kenny likely to get run down here by the repeated slows. Red buff's on there as well. He's getting away. I mean, the headbutt's helping. Flash misses the E, but, you know, lands the auto attack. But Pulverize headbutts up again. Gets another Q slow. And by the way, Stixxay's going to die.
Tick, 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 tick.
Heal, lifesteal. Okay, he got enough.
Got it.
That 3%, actually no, 11%.
It's barely alive. Chunky Fresh is still going after Thin Card, tanks one for him. Nintendo's here though.
Flashes away from both. Nintendo missing his first Sejuani ultimate, I think, of the game.
Chunky Fresh is unstoppable at this point. The fact that he has a Warmogs on top of his max CDR build, is just spells disaster here for CLG Black. They really have no way to deal with this.
Yeah, life's going to be painful. The two gigantic tanks up at the front line. Lock it for Nintendo just to help the team fight in case you do care about the AoE damage coming out from Easy and co.
Yeah, Easy isn't even going to do that much damage at this point. No. He hasn't hit another item past his Rod of Ages. And Thin Card's Nidalee is just going to have these spears tanked at close range by these two tanks, right? She's not going to get that multiplier from the range.
Yeah, the tier's fully stacked, and he's not going for Saros, which is surprising to me because that completion is worth like 120 AP in itself for less than he's going to buy that ability power raw. So strange choices here, but all the same. Bottom lane inhibitor goes down as well. Fusion just able to keep muscling their way forward with the Baron. Nothing here to stop them. 15,000 gold lead, 29 minutes in. They're looking for under an hour total game time for a 2-0.
Oh my god. That's actually a really good way to put it. Huhi going in. The ultimates are popped. Still, they're just waiting for them to group up so Nintendo can get a good ultimate or trance. And Chunky with the follow-up. They're just waiting for the minions at this point too. They just want those double super minions.
So mid lane wave's going to show up first. Top and bottom will actually coincide.
So many wards!
15 seconds away. Spam of wards, because why not? There's the next super minion. They're going to be double waves now in the future as well. But looks like Fusion just unwilling to risk it, unwilling to engage into the defensive tanks, the AoE CC, the AoE damage output. Lorlo looks a bit aggressive. Stixxay gets chunked out. This fight does begin, and Huhi might be the first casualty, but Stixxay actually goes down first. He jumped into the Scion Q. 1-for-1, the battle continues. Easy is out of mana. He literally can't do anything until they kill him. So he gets to ult, but no one's taking any damage here. Trance with the shield on takes nothing. There's turret number 1. Here's turret number 2. 4v3. The re-engage comes in. Who's going to stop anyone? Nintendo misses the Q flash, but who cares? It's now time for the Nexus. 30 minutes and 33 seconds in. That's going to be Fusion 2-0 in 55 minutes overall. And Fusion have secured the second playoff spot now in the North American Challenger Series.
And Nintendo having another almost immaculate game, 2-0 and 13. He would have had 0 deaths in the previous game if he didn't dive the fountain, but man, did they look really good in that.
Yeah.
They played it perfectly, despite not being in a lane swap, which seemed to be the weak point of Fusion. Niantanso gets through the early game. They TP, 5-man make a play bottom to set him up, easy shoves mid, and they get nothing for it. And then they just start snowballing that off of plays from Nintendo showing up at the right time in the right lanes, being like, jumping over randomly over a wall. He's like, oh, Think Card's here. And then they collapse
I'm going to win
on
that
him.
fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's able to assert his dominance early on this Sejuani and not let the Nidalee get off the ground was really big for the team composition as a whole and allowed them to get into that mid-game, late game just so effectively and so early too.
Yeah, the fact that Nintendo got so far ahead though, he had 20 CDR probably like 14 minutes into the game. Juggernaut was worth 10 and Runes and Mastery worth the other 10. So he's just ulting on cooldown. Every time it was up, he'd look for some kind of fight to pick. And with bot lane able to be dived pretty early on, with mid lane just straight up winning with a good play of LeBlanc, and top lane honestly being advantageous as well. He had his pick of the litter, and it just worked every time.
Yeah.
They just coordinated their team so darn well, and that to me is really good, that when you have a team that can make these, like, and the thing is, before like 20 minutes in, your plays have to be fabricated. Yep. Like, you're not like, oh, you know, we're doing the standard Baron dance, we're doing the standard Dragon dance, we're like, okay, well, you know, Infinity doesn't. No, they're choosing to force the engage, choosing to pick a fight in a lane, even though there's no, like, intrinsic advantage there, like, pickaxe versus longsword, like, honestly, not that huge of a deal. And they're like, no, we're going to fight bot lane, we're going to win the fight bot lane, and you're going to deal with it. And every time Fusion picked the fight, it was the correct fight, they executed it, they even got out through Karthus Requiem. Like, that's the sign of how well they're playing. They're managing the damage output so well, and managing the damage intake so well, that there's no casualties for these fights.
Yeah, and they had the hard engage comp all around. Engage support for Trance, engage for Nintendo, engage for Chunky Fresh. They got to pick their fights that they were starting. And like you said, they always picked the right one. And it was never like, I went in and there's only 3 of us, or I went in and there's only 4 of us instead of the 5th. They were always on the same page. Yeah. And that's largely attributed to their shot calling and the fact that Nintendo is in the right places.
Yeah, so you think about Fusion, how well they did. I want to talk a little bit about CLG Black here. Yes. So first of all, their playoff picture, they need TDK to lose today, and then CLG Black can 2-0 TDK to get into the playoffs. If neither of those things happen, TDK wins or CLG can't 2-0 TDK next week, CLG Black is out of the playoffs. As far as their play in this game, though, they had the idea to play a more defensive, team fight-oriented comp. To credit Lorlo, he went 3-1-2. Best performance on his team, survived the lane, showed up well in team fights. Can't hate on that too much, so apologies for calling Lorlo out. Maokai seems to be working for what that's worth, but CLB Black seems like they're like, okay, well, you know, guys, we're not really getting these mid-game plays that teams like Fusion are. Let's just wait. Let's just scale with Nidalee and Karthus and get the 25-minute team fights, but those never happen.
Yeah, and they never picked on Lorlo. Like, right? They put him in a one-on-one situation where it wasn't a lane swap. You know, a solo queue player may not have to deal with it all the time. So he got a lane where he's like, okay, maybe I can do something here, but it's a bad matchup for the Maokai.
Yeah.
Still survives it, still keeps up in CS, but then the fact that there was just more effectiveness from Chunky Fresh, just slightly though.
I would actually say by a lot. So to me, it was like Lorlo would get in and like he would get that 1 or 2 cleanup kills at the very end of a fight, but Chunky was actively making aggressive moves, right? Again, offensive versus defensive tank. I felt like Lorlo was gifted kills just by being at the back end of a team fight and never being focused, but Chunky was making the plays happen, was actually cashing in the kills for his team, and to me that was a much brighter point on my end. Even
the
though
amount
KD
of pressure that he made was much higher on Chunky Fresh.
That's why I say that. Even though the scoreline doesn't say so, or the CS doesn't say so, I just think more happened from Chunky Fresh. Either way, though, grats to 2-0 for Fusion. Well played by these guys. They're in the playoffs. CLG Black need a bit of a miracle. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, a couple of former LCS players will coast to the 2015 Challenger broadcast debut when TDK takes on Final 5. Don't go anywhere. Goes down, the re-engage, the jump in for Stixxay, forces Nian to flash away. Looks like that will be a survival, but Huhi's going to show up well before everyone else. The fight has begun. Easy just wants to get the AoE damage. 4-man knockout from Alistair. They pick off Sivir. Sejuani starts the fight. Oh, man! That was a good ultimate. The solar flare just destroying CLG Black. Chunky Fresh with the follow-up. The fight does begin, and Huhi might be the first casualty, but Styx actually goes down first. He jumped into the Scion queue. 1 for 1, the battle continues. Easy is out of mana.